All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is September 21st, 2019, and we are going to have a little fun as usual. We are going to dig into some things today. We're going to do kind of a little continuation from the last video and then just take it forward from there, see who's talking to who when, and just keep taking it from there. I've been trying to put this video together and trying to start it for like the last hour. I use the program Screencast-O-Matic, and something has just changed. And when I do little test runs, I had to delete and then start over. And then I almost had to do like a pretend download to restart it. And I was like, what the heck is going on? But I don't know about you guys. We experience that a lot, especially more lately. I can tell you, you can see my internet connection is finally showing full down here. But regularly on an almost daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis a few times, my internet just turns off. I can't, it drops the connection. And my son's playing his thing, my daughter's doing her thing, my wife's doing her thing. Only my laptop. Only my laptop. Go figure that one, right? It happens to me many times a week, and it has for a few months now. I just find that very interesting, but I am way more patient than I used to be. so it doesn't affect me quite so much. I just think it's okay. I know the information I want to present. I could wait. I could wait. You just return it, Lord, bring it back up, and we'll get going when you're ready, when you want this done. So, guys, I pray you guys have had a good week and you're off to a good weekend. Man, was that last video ever exciting, right? Seeing the end as never before. You know, it's got pretty good views for our channel. Like all of our videos. I don't know if you guys noticed this. See, we only have 3,460 some odd subscribers. Not only, you know, it's significant, but look at our views. 4,100, 32, 25, 41, 2,800, 3,200, 3,700, 3,400, 4,100. You see, why? Go look at some of these other ministries, and they virtually never have as many. I mean, there's some channels you see that 15,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers, and their views are in the hundreds. I'm not saying this because it's something special that we can do that others can't. I'm just saying, isn't that amazing? It's not too often you see almost 100% saturation of viewer as an average. It's 100% and above. See, 51, 52, 57, 88, 10,000, 57. As an average, it's above the number of subscribers we have as an average across the board on all our videos for several months now. Just so amazing, right? So incredible. I don't know if you guys had noticed this, but you see, I had a picture similar to this before, but it wasn't mine. It was just a generic one. And I just want to share with you guys. Remember I showed you that video when we went to Banff, because I live close to Banff, and we went way up. We took that gondola up, and we showed you guys some of those pictures with my family and everything. This is a piece of that view where we were at the top of the mountain in Banff. The city is way down in there, the town of Banff. It was just pretty wild, right? We went last winter, and so that was the clip from that. So I just wanted to share. Anyways, I also wanted to remind you guys, don't forget about the website. I don't want to bring it up because I have so many tabs up. I was doing a test earlier and it just slowed everything down because there's a lot with the website. So you guys can always click here to the website. Here's our GoFundMe page. Here's PayPal. But this right here too, if you guys wanted to support the ministry. But the website is what I want you guys to go see. All of our videos, all of these videos, not from the very beginning, but maybe close to 200 videos are there now, I think. Something like that. Maybe 100 and something videos are there now. But certainly all of these videos here are all uploaded to the website by our brother Jimmy, who built the website for us. And like I said, I don't want to bring it up now because it'll slow things down. But if you go here, it's an easy way for you guys to get to the website, and you can see all sorts of things there. But the reason I bring it up now is, like I've been doing lately, is because we have the portion called the forum page. So if you go to the menu, which is the 3 lines to the top right, you click on that and your options for the different pages will show up. And if you go to the forum page, at the forum page, there are conversations like crazy. Like I woke up and I was looking at it today, and there was 30 conversations and thumbs up and cheers and so forth, and people in different conversations since last night, right? Or at some point yesterday till I looked this morning. So it's a great place. People are sharing their testimony. So all of you people out there, new or have been here for a while, that want to share your testimony, that like sharing your testimony, that know the power of sharing the testimony, guys, go and listen or go and read some of the testimonies that are there and share some of your own. All right? It's very powerful. It's very powerful. And when others come, when you guys lead others to the website and they go and they read those stories, people say, that's what I was like. We've got one of our good brothers who has a story very similar to mine. We were heavy drinkers, although I called it what are they calling? Functioning alcoholic. My family had no idea, but I ended up having to go to the hospital. I was almost dying. I didn't know it. That's why I had lost so much weight over a couple months, because I had internal bleeding that was coming through a tear in my small intestine because of how much wine I was drinking. 3 to 4 bottles of wine a day was going on, right? Over time, it built up, and it was what you'd say functioning alcoholic. Had to go to the hospital, had to get put under, and had to have, they went in with a laser through my esophagus, and they went in and sealed it all up for me. Never had a drink since. I knew at that moment everything had changed, that I wouldn't do it again, and nor have I. Haven't had a drink, sip, nothing, because the power of the Lord that is in me, I knew that I knew. But the reason I mention that is just the power of the testimony, right? One of our good brothers I was just on the phone with the other day, I think yesterday or the day before. I'm not going to mention his name for a purpose, but he's one of our great brothers as well. We love him. We know him. And I just wanted talking about, sorry, going a little bit off track, but talking about the power of testimonies. His was similar. He ended up having to go to the hospital as well. He had to get put under and because of the bleeding inside and, these types of things. So people get to see that, they hear me talking on this end, and a lot of people say, oh, he's so perfect. His life must be so great. We saw his wife and his children, and life is great. It is, I'm not going to complain. It is pretty darn good. We've been very blessed. But have I been a fool along the way? You darn right I have been. Very foolish, very stupid along the way, like we all have at some point, right? Some are way more put together than us, right? But the Lord will use us all. And that testimony is that place to go and just share and have conversation. And they're sharing links from other things and things going on in the world and sharing testimonies. It's a great place. All right? So with that, guys, for those who haven't, maybe who hadn't gone in to watch this video yet, but see, it's more than the subscribers we have already. But if you haven't, I recommend everybody go watch this video. And I recommend everybody watch it slowly and maybe watch it again. But I know there are many of you who have watched it more than once. Watch it with this video. All right? Watch it with these 3 videos right here. If somebody's new here, you want to seriously wake somebody up, you show them this video first to show them that Israel is not really in the 71st year, but they are actually in their 70th because it's based on them having formed a government. Then you show them the differences and the truth of the difference of why people teach 7 years, how they teach 7 years, the different ways they're teaching 7 years, and the truth of the 14 and where it's all revealed in the scriptures. Then go and show them this one here. This one is a direct connection with this one. You go and show them this one next. This was the video when making this video that I'm not saying I didn't need any more, didn't want any more information. I do, and I'm seeking, and there's always more that's coming, guys. There is always more being revealed. But this is when I understood it's over. It's this year. We know when it is. We're going to go into some of these things today. We're going to show why the difference from Matthew, Mark, and Luke in day and hour and when one isn't saying anything. But this was the one. So anybody want to know when we're escaping? When the bride is about to be taken out? you might want to come and watch this video. You know what's really interesting? Because we're watching all these things, and we're so into not just the date that we're going. That's not the only thing we're focused on. We're focused on the understanding of scriptures, that we can draw closer to the Lord and understanding him. If prophecy wasn't important, why is just about the whole book prophetic? All right? We know that. He told us it was. He told us these things about him that needed to be fulfilled, and that's what we're doing. But in thinking about these things, I decided to watch the first episode of The Leftovers again. Or is it The Leftovers? Yeah, I was going to say The Left Behind, but no, it's The Leftovers. That TV series that was popular for a few years, right? And I went and watched the first episode, and man, oh man, I mean, you see this clip, the people have vanished. It's all varieties of people, and then there's a clip, and I think we've shared it before. There's a clip where the government is having these conversations. They had brought in all of the church people, and they brought in the different religious groups of the world, and they couldn't come to a consensus as to what had happened. We've talked about that here, right? When the escape of the bride happens, the whole world is going to wonder what happened. They're going to be in bewilderment, as we're taught, right? Why are they going to be in bewilderment? Because imagine all the church that had heard, the 90% of the church that will be left behind that weren't ready, that had heard of the rapture. They're going to think it was the rapture, but they're going to say, no, it couldn't have been because we're still here. Well, that show, there's this guy that's a pastor character, and he's trying to prove to people and tell people, handing out these flyers, it couldn't have been the rapture. Well, why are they saying it couldn't have been the rapture? Because of the people that had gone that they didn't think were worthy, but that's according to the men in the show, and because the rest of the church was still there. And you know what they say? They say, now it's up to the scientists to see if they can explain it for us. How about 2% of the population of the world vanished, around 140 million people? We talked about that before. This was revealed in this ministry before we had ever seen that show. Oh, the show was on before, but I had never seen it. See, that's crazy, because that's what's going to happen. When are we looking for that time frame? Watch this video. And in fact, all of it also ties in with this video here. A look at the Gospels like never before. So share, people, this video, then share this video, then share this one, then this one if they're still interested at this point, right? Depending how many hours. This takes time. You got to study these things, right? And then show them this one. The last one we did right here. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. This is what sealed the deal for me. This confirmed the whole thing. And what I'm going to show you today is going to bring even more detail into the mix. And it's going to tie into the understanding of why Matthew and Mark say day and hour that no man knows, and why Luke doesn't. And it'll tie in to the sign. It'll tie into Joseph. All of these counts that will begin tie into this one day, which we talked about here. But we're going to follow this further down. We're going to go into Jeremiah 4 and break all this down in through Jeremiah 4 as well. And you'll see Jeremiah 4, I mean, it's the whole beginning. It's there. It's crystal clear when your end time eyes can see and understand. All right? So let's go show this. Okay? September 2017. We know what happened on September 23rd, all right? Not a mystery. Everybody was watching. Everybody was waiting for September 23rd, the sign, which we showed a couple videos ago. These same planets, Venus, Mars, and Mercury, the representation of Jesus, the bright morning star, Satan or the Antichrist spirit, and the Holy Spirit messenger. We showed how at this coming time, right now, they're moving in through here. Mars is being left behind. Mercury is going into the balances. And Venus comes in and is at the point star of the balances, the apex of the constellations, the representation of heaven. It's the same planets moving through at this time right now while I'm speaking to you. Okay? Because if we were watching at this one, if people continued watching and understood more, like we talked about in that video, they would see what's taking place right now in the heavens. So September 23rd. But why am I bringing it up is because I didn't talk about this in the last video. This was a little bit later. And I don't know if you remember in the last video, there was a piece I said close to the beginning. I said that we'll get to in the end when we go to the book of Acts. That's something we're going to build into and lead towards the end of this video as well, which has to do with the book of Acts, which relates to this time frame we're in right now. And I'll prove it to you. But with September 23rd, not only is it September 23rd, which is a couple days from now, look at what day it was. Look at what day it was. Do you understand that, guys? If you've been watching for a little while, you've watched the last several videos, and in particular the last one, you would understand the magnitude of the fact that September 23rd was the 3rd of Tishri. The 3rd of Tishri? Are you kidding me? Guys, I know you, those who have been watching for a bit, you know what we're talking about. Right? Why isn't it on the 1st or 2nd of the new year? We'll talk about that too. Why are we getting this revelation of the sign where people were watching for the 3rd of Tishri? Right? Why the 3rd of Tishri? The story is Joseph, right? Think of the story of Joseph. He was in the pit. He was in prison for 2 years? And he was released at the end of 2 years. And what did he do? He was in the land of his captivity, right? He was in the land of his captivity, and what did he do? When he came out, he served Egypt, right? He served them in the land of his captivity. A lot of people say, see, those are 7 good years and then 7 bad years. No, he was in the land of his captivity like we showed in that video, right? We talked about that a few videos back. So this sign like Joseph, right? Like Israel, like the woman in heaven. Okay, you're going to see how this ties all together. It's so awesome. It's the 3rd of Tishri. And in the last video, we were showing why Daniel is talking in chapter 10 about the 3rd of Tishri. Right? In the 3rd year of Cyrus. So let's go into this. In our trusted e-sword. See, things are running slow. Those who don't know, who might be newer, this program is free. And it's not slow because of anybody but my computer. Keep thinking maybe I should get another laptop, right? But there's not enough time to bother, in my opinion. We'll see later on. Anyways, so Daniel 10. So in Daniel 10, like we went through in the last video, we see that in the 3rd year of Cyrus, okay? Everybody knows, we talked about it, that Cyrus trump, all right? He's the type and shadow. Last time Cyrus is spoken about is here in Daniel 10. He's not mentioned ever again, okay? And it's in his 3rd year. Where is Trump? In his 3rd year. What does Daniel do? Who? Daniel. Dan, right? Judgment. He is the judge. He is from the tribe of Dan. That's what's being said to us. He's fasting and mourning for 3 full weeks. And he said, until the 3 weeks were fulfilled. So at the end of the 3 weeks that he fasted, it's what? It's the 24th day of the 1st month. Okay? 24th day of the 1st month. This is what I was explaining. I think I talked about in the previous video. I'm not sure if I did or not with bringing up a clock. But this is what I wanted to show you guys. It's, you know how difficult it is to find one that's at 1 and 7? Crazy. Anyways, you see how the clocks, the 12th month is the 6th month. The first month would be like the 7th month. The 2nd, the 8th, the 3rd, the 9th. Why do you think that is? Why is there this connection? What is going on that it's telling us? The menorah, right? The first is connected to the last, the 2nd to the 2nd last, the 3rd to the 3rd last, and then you've got the middle one. It's the same type and shadow going on. So 1 is 7. It's the reason why the Jews have two different calendars, right? One is the spiritual calendar, one is the civil calendar. One starts at the first month, the beginning of the year, and the other one is what? At the 7th month, which they call the head of the year, which is Tishri. All right? Now why? Oh, because I was showing this one. Never mind. All right? Which is Tishri. Tishri is called the head of the year, the beginning of the year. Okay? On the civil calendar. So what does that mean? 1 is 7. Okay? 1 was first, 7 is last. Think menorah. Okay? That's what's going on here. So how can we prove this time? Well, there is no fasting for 3 weeks There is no fasting in the month of May, right? Or sorry, in the Nisan. There's no fasting and mourning in the month of Nisan. It's the time of Passover. See? So he's not talking about that month. That's the clarity, that's the understanding. And from there you can clearly see the 1 and the 7 and the 1, the 9 and the 3, and so on and so forth. All right? This is how we know when he's fasting and mourning. So he fasted 21 days, but at the end, when the full 3 weeks were fulfilled, he says it's the 24th day of that month, of the first month. Okay, as we were talking about in the last video. So what is he telling us? He's telling us now, let's go into 2019. Okay, he's telling us it's the 3rd of Tishri when he began his count. Okay, let's keep going down. Bring it down. Okay, so he began on what? The 3rd of Tishri. When did the sign, the Revelation 12 sign, happen in 2017? The 3rd of Tishri. Where's the 2-year anniversary? October 2nd, the 3rd of Tishri. How long was Joseph in prison? 2 years. When the 2 years were over, what was it? The 14 years began. Following? Now why wasn't it on the 1st or 2nd of Tishri? You guys are seeing where that's going, right? Why at the beginning are we told it's the 3rd of Tishri and not the 1st or 2nd of Tishri? Remember that as we go forward. Okay? Has to do with day or hour and all that stuff, okay? So when we follow this down, we see now the Lord appears to him. Okay? It's the Lord that appears to him, or it's the angel of the Lord represented as the Lord, and it says, listen to this. I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. Okay? Out of everybody else that was there, they didn't see it. They fled because there was a great earthquake and hid themselves. We talked about that earthquake coming once the bride is gone, right? So what is it? Daniel alone saw the vision. Wasn't that interesting? Only Daniel saw the vision. Why would only Daniel see this vision? Many of you are going to see where this is going now. See how slow this is? I had this all prepped. Okay? Why did only Daniel see this vision of what was coming? How about Jeremiah 4 that we've talked about? We're going to cover all of this to Jeremiah 4. We'll go right down to the end. Remember this? Set up the standard towards Zion. Retire, stay not. For I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. The lion is come up from his thicket. All right? Assad, Syria, is come up from his thicket, comma, and, meaning a separate event, the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. See, the lion has come up from his thicket. The red horse rider, which is nation against nation, people against people. Okay? When we read the discourses, you see that nothing really begins for everybody, because we're talking about the whole earth, until it says nation against nation, people against people. The white horse rider time is the time when the lion comes up from his thicket, okay? that is when Israel will be attacked at the end of those 40 days. So the lion has come up from his thicket, destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. Let's follow it through. And at that time, said the Lord, the heart of the king shall perish, and the heart of the princes, and the priests shall be astonished, and the prophets shall wonder. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, surely thou hast greatly deceived. This baffles a lot of people, right? When you don't understand why, what do you mean the Lord God deceived? No, an angel, one of them went out for him to make this happen, to confuse his people because of everything that they've done. They just refuse to see. And it says, thou hast greatly deceived this people and Jerusalem. You shall have peace, whereas the sword reaches to the soul. See, they're going to have that peace deal come out, and then the sword's coming. All right? They think they're going to have peace. What are they thinking now? They keep thinking they're going to have peace, but then they spit in God's eye again. Right? What are they doing on the 25th through the 27th? Spitting in his face, just like they did when they were beating him. All right? And they don't realize it because they are so blinded. You know, we wonder so often, you know, our brother Keith Klein shares a lot of deep stuff in Hebrew word studies that he does. And you realize, my goodness, the depths of the layers are so astounding. And the Jews, they study these things, in particular, right, the ones that go deep into the studies of it. They study this stuff like crazy, the Orthodox and so forth. How do they not see these layers? That is, it's Jesus after Jesus after Yeshua, all over the place. But the only explanation is because the Lord blinded them. Right? They were blinded in part. That is so true. It's unbelievable when you see the layers of depths in the scripture that's about Jesus the whole way through. It's insane, and it's in their books, by the way. Okay? And at that time he said, there should be a dry wind shall arise. Okay. Now when we go down further, we've talked about this one before, right? So he's saying, O Jerusalem, wash thine heart from wickedness, that thou may be saved. Okay? How long shall your vain thoughts lodge within thee? Vain thoughts. Look what they're doing, right? This coming 25th through 27th. Right as all this stuff is about to begin. This is something we're going to get into towards the end, right? This thing that they're about to do, that they started the conversation on last year in July. But remember, last year in July, we thought we were in the 70th year. That was where the conversation began. Now they want to solidify it, and this time we know we're truly, actually, literally in the 70th year. And now it's where it's being confirmed, where they're bringing in everybody, like the 70 nations, to bring this thing forward. You're going to see where this ties into something we spoke about last year that's revealed in the fact that it wasn't last year. They're doing it now this year. They're finalizing it this year in the true 70th year. You're going to see that. Well, now look at when we get here to Jeremiah 4, verse 15. For a voice declares from Dan, and publisheth affliction from Mount Ephraim. Remember how we talked about Danny Danon, right? He's a representative, or he sits with the UN anyways, I think for Israel or something along those lines. But we showed a video from him in an article from Danny Danon standing up. Okay, his name is Danny Danon. I always say, just in case we didn't realize he's from the tribe of Dan, his name is called Dan. And to publish affliction from Mount Ephraim. I'm wondering, I'm not saying this is fact, but I'm wondering if he may be the one who will do this this coming October, if he's the guy. I'm not saying he's the guy. I just find it interesting that maybe there was a reason that he was brought to our attention earlier in the year when he did what he did in January, standing up before the nations, showing that the scriptures, this Bible, is their rule book. All right, he stood up before the nations in Ephraim, America, and he published, but he didn't publish affliction was coming yet. All right, and I think maybe what he was doing was a type and shadow. He's starting to be aware, okay? But who do we have? Dan. Remember, only Daniel saw, and nobody else that was with him. And what is he going to do? Make ye mention to the nations, behold, publish against Jerusalem that watchers come from a far country and give out their voice against the cities of Judah. As keepers of a field, they are against her round about. How about Luke 21? So what do we have? We have Daniel receiving this vision, this appearing of the Lord, to instruct him and to give him this discerning and this understanding. And then there's a shout out that what? They're going to be surrounded. Okay? They're going to get surrounded. Where do we read that? Luke 21. When does the 40 days begin? Once the bride is taken, that 20th, 21st. 3 days later, after the resurrection, the type and shadow, it's the what? It's the 24th of Tishri, right? The 23rd of October. Dan now will receive that vision. The bride will be gone, and Dan will receive that vision. The 40 days will begin. See, this is the 40 days. When it says, but before all these, right? Before these things of the seals, these tribulation, the red horse rider and the earthquakes and all those devastations break out, before all these things, they shall bring you up and deliver you into synagogues and to prisons. Why? Why are these things suddenly happening? What has happened just because there's Dan and this group through the tribe of Dan and that have been anointed and that are just running around and declaring to nations tribulation coming and persecution? Why? Because tens of millions have vanished on top of it. They're going around telling them what has taken place and what's about to come next. And so they're going to be denounced. They're going to be cast into prison. Some are going to be put to death. Family is going to turn against them. Friends are going to turn against them. But not a hair on their head shall perish. And then what does it say? And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation, right, the destruction thereof is near. We're going to cover this. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst depart out of it, and let not them that are in the countries enter into, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things may be fulfilled. So what? When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, when they are surrounded, what is Dan publishing? Right? What is Dan's responsibility? What is he to publish? Affliction. Right? Make mention to the nations. Tell the nations. Publish against Jerusalem that watchers have come from a far country to give out voice against Judah. As keepers of a field are they against her round about, because she hath been rebellious against me, says the Lord. Okay, we'll keep going. Verse 19. My bowels, I am pained at my very heart. My heart makes a noise in me. I cannot hold my peace, because thou hast heard, O my soul, the sound of the trumpet, the alarm of war. Ringing a bell? You see Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel. Is this ringing a bell to anybody? Is it Ezekiel 3? No, 33. Ezekiel 33. What have we been teaching Ezekiel 33 is? The 40 days. Son of man, speak unto the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land. See, they think they shall have peace, but I will bring a sword. When I bring the sword upon the land, if my people of the land take a man from their coasts and set him for their watchman, if they see the sword come upon the land and blow the trumpet and warn the people. All you guys know Ezekiel 33 very well, and we've covered it. It's warning, sounding the trumpet, warning, sounding the trumpet, warning, sounding the trumpet. If you don't, you will be, it'll be on them, but their blood will be on you, it says to Ezekiel, right? It's the same story. It's the same story going on. And who was the one chosen to stand up? Dan, right? Daniel is going to stand up. Let's keep going. Destruction upon destruction is cried, for the whole land is spoiled. Suddenly are my tents spoiled and my curtains in a moment. Suddenly, right? Where do we get that suddenly? 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon them. And what are they expecting is going to happen? Ah, Lord, I see you have greatly deceived this people, Jeremiah 4:10. This people in Jerusalem saying, you shall have peace, whereas the sword reacheth unto the soul. See, they're going to have this peace deal come. And what does Daniel say comes at the beginning? Because they would have made this peace deal. What comes first? The great earthquake. You see? And where is Dan? Where would Daniel be maybe proclaiming this from? Is it possible from Ephraim? And then there's a great earthquake that will come after, like when on that 24th day, which is I think it's October 23rd. You see? And where's that great earthquake going to be? In America. See? Like we've been talking about the West Coast. I believe there will be others as well, but it will be the great West Coast earthquake. So based on this, we're looking at this mid-late October. And let me clarify, I'm not saying we're looking on this. We're showing these things that the scriptures are telling us, just like when we go into the seals and into the trumpets. We're not here for those things. All right? The bride of Christ is not here from those things. The repentant, watching, and praying church is not here for those things. They are the first fruits. They are the 10% of the church. They are the tithe of the church. What is a tithe? 10%. It was the lepers. How many lepers? Not leopards. Lepers. Right? 10 got saved. How many turned around to give thanks to him for it? 1. It's the story of the 10%. And this is what I was explaining to you guys a long time ago, and that I touch on sometimes when we did it, like we did at the beginning of the video. What does 10% of the church equal? Well, if the church claims to be about 1.4, 1.5 billion worldwide, what is 10%? About 140, 150 million people. And like Bob Jones, and like I taught before, even seeing the Bob Jones in what he saw in heaven, we were teaching that the 10%, the tithe of the church, 10% of 1.4, 1.5 billion people, the ready, watching, praying, repentant church, equals 144 million. So there's going to be a census taken, I said, over a year and a half ago, that they will take a census once the escape has happened and this craziness is going on. And they're going to determine that it was about 140 to 150 million people that disappeared. I believe that's what's going to come. And you'll know from having heard this, whoever's left behind, but nobody listening to these videos should be left. Unless maybe you're chosen to work with Dan. You see, what does that 10% equal? Well, take the population of the earth. Let's say it's about 8 billion, right? 1.8% times 8 billion is 144 million people. What is that? About 2%. Bob Jones said, how many people did he see in the line going into heaven? He said he saw about 2% of all the people that he died in that moment going into heaven. And he was able to turn and look and see. And he said it was about 98% going down. We knew that before we had seen that. Just like that TV show. We knew these things before having seen it. And we're having these things. Now I know it's a TV show. Okay, I get it. But they reveal to us things. We all know that. Whether it's music or movies and so on and so forth. Okay? So, let's keep going. Remembering 10%, it's the tithe. It's not nearly as many people as as people think are going to go. And they're going to be confused by it. Okay? bring it on this one. Come on. See how slow that is? Holy. I just want to make sure I'm hitting the points that I want to hit. Okay. So I went off on a little tangent. Okay. So, oh yeah, when we were talking about the suddenly. Okay. So we know that it ties into 1 Thessalonians. We know that there's this suddenly thing. The bride will be taken, and sudden destruction will come upon them. Okay. How long shall I see the standard? For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are astonished children. They have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. All right, this is speaking about the Jews. Let's keep going. Let's go Jeremiah 4, verse 27. For thus saith the Lord, the whole land shall be desolate, yet will I not make a full end. A lot of times I wanted to get into this with Jeremiah 4, and I forget to come all the way down to this portion. You see, it's not going to be so utterly devastated because we know what comes at the end of seals. All right, when the Lord returns at the end of seals and the beginning of trumpets starts, they're going to be what? Rebuilding the city and the streets. Okay? There's going to be the rapture group. The 144,000 are going to be sealed. They're going to go out and do work. The 2 witnesses are going to be surrounding and protecting the city. Okay? So it's not going to be made a full end of. But how long is it going to remain desolate for? 7 years. You see, Dan goes out, makes this declaration when what? When the lion has come up from the thicket. Okay? The 40 days are coming to an end. He's coming up from his thicket. Or sorry, it's during the 40 days because the lion isn't there yet, right? He's come up from his thicket. He's like right there. You have your 40 days. They think they're getting peace. The sword is coming from the lion, from Syria, and from those working with Syria from the north. They're going to come down and attack, and Dan is going to make a declaration at that start of the 40 days to tell them what's coming. What's coming? Devastation. Then the trumpet will sound, the alarm of war. It'll be destruction upon destruction suddenly. And it's going to be made desolate so that nobody's staying in the land anymore. Okay? Yet it won't be a full end, but essentially done. Why? Because it's meant to be given its rest. All right? It's time for its rest. All right? Take that in for a moment. Take that in for a moment. Give me a second. I was just pausing to give it a few seconds here of thought. Think about it. How long has Israel had Jerusalem back for? Right? 50, 51, 52 years, right? Think about that. How many sevens have they had Jerusalem for? Think about it. 7 sevens they've had Jerusalem for. And in any of them, did they allow the land to rest for the Shemitah, for the Sabbath year? Right? The 7th year. 6 years, 7th rest. 6 years, 7 rest. 6 years, 7 rest. 6 years, 7 rest. Has any year of rest, did they let the land of Jerusalem rest? Nope. There's our answer, boys and girls. They did not allow the land to rest since they've taken it over in the 50, right? And then the next one starts at 51. And so here they are now in 52. And what is the Lord going to do? What is the Lord about to do? He's about to make an end of it. Because what's he going to do? He's going to allow it to rest. Daniel 9:25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince, all right? shall be 7 years, 7 weeks, weeks of years, 7 years. What is this talking about? 7 years will it rest. Remember, we've taught on this. Remember the 14 years? For those that maybe are newer, it's 7 years. And then for 3.5 years, they're going to be rebuilding the city and the streets and the wall. And when those 3.5 years are over, Messiah is going to cut himself off, because Messiah, the Prince, Jesus, was on Zion while it was being rebuilt. He came on Zion, not feet down on the Mount of Olives. This is him coming on Zion. Then he's going to cut himself off, right? He's going to be gone for 2.5 years while Satan and the pit is opened up. And they're going to make war, see, against the two witnesses. And at the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then what happens? Jesus comes back in that final year. This has been taught so wrong. You're going to want to go watch the Daniel 9 teaching in the End Time Study series. Okay, what is that? 14 years. How many years is the land going to remain at rest for? 7 years. Why is God making it rest 7 years? Because they've been in the land for 50 plus years, and they never gave the land its rest years. 7 Sabbaths, 7 Shemitas have passed, and not once did they let the land to rest. And for that, he is about to make it rest for 7 years. You follow? You see Zechariah chapter 1, right? Zechariah chapter 1, we talk about this one all the time. What happens? We're in 2019, Zechariah chapter 1, 14 years. I am very sore displeased at the heathen that are at ease, at peace and rest. For I was a little displeased, they helped forward the affliction. Okay? Then what comes? Boom. These things, see? What be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. When? Towards the end of 2019. See, the 4 horns have been released. But they will all be stronger in their own year, right? Some overlap. We've talked about that before. But what did we see? We saw affliction, right? Now affliction is coming. Affliction is about to be released. When do we see this talk about affliction again? Okay? 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This is the year of rest, right? And then what comes next? See, what has happened during this time here? Well, we just saw at the end of Zechariah chapter 1, they got scattered. They got scattered. They were attacked. They were destroyed. Affliction began. The next time we see talk of affliction is the year 2026. 7 years, there's 2026, and look at what it says. Watch this. Zechariah 8, 9, verse 9 and 10. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong, you that hear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation, see, when of the foundation, we talked about that in the last video. These are the ones through Dan and through the tribe, through the church of Smyrna that are going to be working during seals. They are the foundation, the apostles that are working during seals with the disciples. During, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord of hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. Because what's about to begin? They're starting to build the temple, the city, and the streets in the temple. Earlier in this chapter, or just after this, it talks about, let your hands be strong. All right? The kids will be playing in the streets, and old people will be there. Even during trumpets. When outside of the walls, everything is going crazy because the trumpets are being released. Verse 10. For before these days, meaning these chapters here, 7 years, there was no hire for man, nor any beast, nor for any beast, neither was there any peace. Where do we just see that? Chapter 1 as well, right? Where do we just see? Jeremiah chapter 4. Right? They think peace is coming, but the sword is coming. To him that went out or came in, why? Because of the affliction. That started in chapter 1. For I set all men, everyone, against his neighbor. What is this? Red Horse Rider. Neighbor against neighbor. Following, you see? So for 7 years, we've known it was for 7 years. That's not a mystery. But now we're given a greater detail as to why. Why? Because for the last 7 Shemitah years, they failed to allow the land to rest. So the Lord is about to destroy them out of the land and allow it to rest for 7 years. Boom. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. For this, back in Jeremiah 4, verse 28, and we'll keep going a little bit forward. For this shall the earth and the heavens above be black, because I have spoken it. I have purposed it, and I will not repent. See, the Lord is saying he will not repent of it, neither will he turn back from it. The whole city shall flee from the noise of the horsemen and the bowmen. Why? Because when they attack, they're not doing it with necessarily a bunch of jets and tanks and all that other stuff. They are coming into the streets. Oh yeah, there'll be rockets and bombs and all that other stuff, but they are coming into the streets. Okay? And bowmen, they shall go into thickets and climb up the rocks. Every city shall be forsaken. Every city shall be forsaken. Where do we see this? What about when we go into Zechariah chapter 7? You see, you'll see where this leads us to, guys. Zechariah chapter 7. We've been talking about Zechariah chapter 7 for a long time because this is a key to understand this time frame of all these events. When we thought Israel was in the 70th year, which was last year, I kept saying there's no way, according to this, that Israel can observe the 5th month of fasting. Because it says they will only do it 70 years. Only for 70 years can they do it. Then, as this had come to pass, we were thinking, wait a second, this is impossible. If Israel is truly in the 71st year, then all end time scripture has to be rewritten because it all says 70th, 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 70th. It is impossible that they're in the 71st, and there's still no preacher, pastor speaking on end time as to why it's the 71st. Because it's not. We proved that a few videos back. Which then means what? We are in the 70th year, which means they must observe the fasting in the morning in the 5th month and in the 7th month, those 70 years. Okay? So they must observe it before anything begins. Okay? They're going to observe it. Let me go back here. Okay? They must observe it before all these things begin. And look at what comes to pass. What's going to come in at this time? Remember, we're in Jeremiah. Jeremiah is laying out this whole starting time frame. He's telling who's going to make the declaration, what's going to take place during the 40 days, who's rising up, when this time frame of the attack is going to come. Luke 21 is showing us the 40 days, but before all these things, which is during the time of the white horse rider, during these things, you see, then boom, Israel will be surrounded. What does it continue to say in Zechariah chapter 4? Okay, we talked about this. They're going to observe the 5th. They're going to observe the 7th month of fasting. Hello. What's the 7th month of fasting? That's right. Daniel 10. Daniel 10. When did he start his fast for 21 days? He started it on the 3rd of Tishri. Exactly what this one is talking about. The last one that they would observe. The last thing being spoken about that they would observe in those 70 years would be the fast of Gedalia. But see, listen to what it says here. as we keep going. Should you not hear the words which the Lord hath cried by the former prophets, when Jerusalem was inhabited and in prosperity, and the cities thereof round about her, when men inhabited the south of the plain? You see? Even the cities to the south, all those cities round about her, when they were inhabited, they were also being attacked, all right? They're all going to be removed out of the land. Okay? Not just Jerusalem, but those other cities to the south that we were seeing as well. See, because what does it say? It's talking here about Jerusalem, right? The whole city shall flee for the noise of the horsemen and bowmen. They shall go into the thickets and climb up upon rocks, every city. See, what did we just see? And all those cities in Zechariah chapter 7 that were also forsaken. And not a man shall dwell therein. You see that connection? There's the reason we were told, now that we understand it's truly in the 70th year, we're being told again by the old prophets when this count will begin. It wasn't on the 1st of Tishri, not on the 2nd of Tishri, but on the 3rd of Tishri again. That's why Jeremiah 4 is talking Dan. It'll be declared by someone, the head of the tribe of Dan in Ephraim. They will get surrounded and they will be attacked and destroyed out of the land. And the purpose and the length of time they will be destroyed is for the Lord to have them observe, give that land, I should say, its 7 years of observed rest that his people refused to give it because of their prosperity and everything that they wanted. Now, how do we know who they're talking to? Check this out. Verse 30. And when thou art spoiled, all right? And when you've been spoiled, when you've been destroyed, what will you do? Though thou clothest thyself in crimson. Well, isn't that interesting? Although you've clothed yourself in crimson, right? Crimson. What does crimson mean? Crimson, scarlet. Same thing. Doesn't that sound familiar? Goes back to our revealed in the robe. You guys remember that? We have a great video as well called Revealed in the Robe, which gives more insight as to who the Gospels are speaking to, which is Matthew is speaking to the Jews, Mark is speaking to the left behind church, Luke is speaking to the bride. Okay? To the Gentile bride. We've shown that in Luke, when Jesus goes to the crucifixion, he's given a gorgeous robe. When Mark goes, it's a purple robe. When Matthew goes, it's a crimson or scarlet robe. You see? So this is telling us who Jeremiah is speaking to. But what it helps do as well is it helps confirm that indeed it's Matthew. Okay? Look at this. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. This is one of those things, guys. You can go ask any pastor, anybody who's been to seminary school. We've had no person yet realize that Jesus was given different colored robes in each gospel. And the understanding is who they're speaking to. You see a gorgeous robe. Do you see a gorgeous robe in the tribulation? Or do you see purple and scarlet? Hello. Get it? Which one goes to the end? Scarlet. Who's scarlet? Matthew, Judah. See? Here's the Hebrew one from Jeremiah, crimson, which is also scarlet. Let's go to the Greek. Crimson, which is scarlet. Everything connected, guys. We bring it forward, front to back, side to middle to Greek to English to all of the word definitions to Hebrew. Okay? And now what does it say? Listen to this. Thy lovers will despise thee, they shall seek thy life. For I have heard a voice as of a woman in travail. See? What verse are we in here now? What do we add here? I heard a voice as of a woman in travail. travail. Revelation 12:1, she ain't in no travail, guys. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Boom, verse 1 done. 2-year anniversary, the start date, 3rd of Tishri. What is Jeremiah now saying at the end of Jeremiah 4? The 40 days, right? It's coming to the end of the 40 days. Israel has been attacked. The city's round about destroyed. The nation and the land is going to rest for 7 years until the Lord comes on Zion and they start rebuilding the city and the streets. And at the end of Jeremiah 4, what does it say? Verse 2. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. What is this? Red Horse Rider. Tribulation now starts. You see? No tribulation up here. No travailing in birth. See, no travailing. No pain, travail. See, go to the word searches. Pain, sorrow, travail. You go to the word pained, turmoil, torture. You see? Tribulation, Red Horse Rider now begins. Not up here. Here. See, I was just talking with our brother yesterday that Revelation chapter 12, we did a video on this a long time ago, and I think I did a 2-part one. The Revelation chapter 12, from verse 1 to the end, is the 14 years. Now, we don't get the final 3.5 years, except to say when they left for a time, and half a time for the final 3.5 years. See? It tells us how long they're away for. So it's the 10.5 years, and it's telling us that that group is going to leave now protected in the wilderness for 3.5 years. The total is 14 years in the book of Revelation. In Revelation 12. Okay? So now we're seeing what is being said in Jeremiah chapter 4. But listen to this. I want to finish it off here in Jeremiah with this. Because, see, as a woman in travail, okay, now the travail is coming. And the anguish of her that brings forth her first child, right? Remember, the tribulation, that representation of bringing forth Israel, right? Of bringing forth Jesus onto Zion, you could say. Now listen to this. And what? The voice of the daughter of Zion. Well, who's the daughter of Zion? The church. Right? We were birthed through Israel, right? Through Jerusalem, through the Jews. Okay? The voice of the daughter of Zion that bewails herself, that spreads her hand, saying, woe is me now. Woe is me now. Church time. 40 days is over. The voice of her that travailed, and verse 2 of Revelation 12 begins. Okay? But now, we're not done. Okay? Now, let's look at, like we were saying, remember, why do Matthew and Mark say, but of that day and hour, and as we've shown, Luke doesn't? A lot of people who don't listen to the videos will say, but nobody knows the day or an hour. Nobody knows the day or an hour. Okay? They fail to recognize the fact that it doesn't say that in Luke. There's a reason there are 3 Gospels written, or 4 Gospels written, of which we have another, we've explained John as well. But you see, we just showed that, well, we showed here with who's the one that's going to receive the information to proclaim it? It's Dan. When he's going to proclaim it, near the beginning, he's going to proclaim affliction to the nations that is coming first against Jerusalem. And who's the one that's getting this understanding? In the 3rd year of Cyrus, Daniel is. Dan. When the Lord returns after the escape, when the Lord returns from the wedding, as we read in Luke 12 in the last video, telling us that it began 21 days earlier when he fasted and mourned, starting on the 3rd of Tishri. Okay? Starting on the 3rd of Tishri. Now watch this. Let's keep going. Look at who Daniel, all this is just information back and forth, all right? With Daniel and the angel of the Lord and him saying what he was doing. Well, listen to this. So now we're seeing Daniel had fasted those 21 days. It's now 3 days after he's returned from the wedding. He's now with his disciples and the apostles that were chosen. The 40 days count is starting. And what does he tell them? But the prince of the kingdom of Persia, all right? So the leader of Persia withstood me 21 days. Now, this could also be in the spiritual realm, all right? Because this is the angel of the Lord that was trying to come to Daniel. I wanted to come to you at the 3rd of Tishri. Okay? But don't forget, I told you in Zechariah 7 that you were going to observe the 3rd of Tishri. So they come to the end of observing the 3rd of Tishri. Right? The 7th feast. The feast. The fasting in the morning of the 7th month. And you know what? Sorry, I'm going to come back to this. Just pause it for a second, okay? That thought. I want to show you something. What did he say? That it's from the 3rd of Tishri, we understand, right? It's the fasting in the morning for the fast of Gedaliah. Well, check this out. If we go to Zechariah chapter 8, which will be the beginning of trumpets, the first year of trumpets that we were showing you earlier. I forgot to mention this. I wanted to show you guys this. Why would Zechariah 7 tell us the 5th month and the 7th month that they observed and not telling us of any other fast in the future? Like, why not the fast of the 10th or the next thing or the next? Because the connection is to the final one that they will observe, which gets us to the 3rd of Tishri, and Daniel having done that for 21 days. This is why I bring it up. Check this out. Because, where is it? Right here. Zechariah 8, verse 19. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th month, and the fast of the 7th month, there's the one, and the fast of the 10th month. Whoa, wait a second. They have a fast in the 10th month as well. But Zechariah 7 never spoke about it. He mentions the 5th one, and then he mentions the 7th one, saying what? That you observed those in the 70th year. For 70 years you observed them. Why didn't he mention the one in the 10th? Because it doesn't go to the 10th. The count will begin from the start of the 7th month one, which is exactly what Daniel is telling us, which is why Jeremiah chapter 4 is saying that, which is why the affliction starts in chapter 1 at the 3/4 of the way through the chapter. It doesn't go to the 10th month. You see, and when we get to chapter 8, all of these mourning and fasting, well, what have they turned into? He says, shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness and cheerful feasts. What? Right? Therefore, love the truth and peace. To the house of Judah. Well, wait a second. Weren't they just ripped out of their land for 7 years? Exactly. This is now when the Lord returns on Zion. The 144,000 were sealed, the rapture to paradise onto Zion, and now the city and the streets are being rebuilt for those who recognize their Lord when he came on Zion and the time that's taken place there. It will now be no longer fasting and mourning. It will now turn into cheerful things. When? The very next verse. Why? Because the Lord's there on Zion, and they're rebuilding the city and the streets. See? Why didn't it say the 10th? Because it's not connected to the 10th. It's connected to the 7th. The 7th. The 7th one, which is Tishri 3. Okay? And what does he say, though? So now, then, back to where we were. Daniel 10, verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. So I wanted to come, but I was withheld for 21 days. Now it's the 24th day. Here I am. And Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Okay? So what is he doing? He's dealing with Iran. Why? Because this isn't Iran's time yet. Right? He's dealing with Iran right now. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days. It's for the end of days. It's for what's about to begin now. Okay? He talks about the appearance unto one like the Son of Man. Let's see. Let's go verse 19 and 20. And said, O man greatly beloved, fear not. Peace be unto thee. Be strong. Yes, be strong. Let's go to verse 20. Look at this. Then said he, knowest thou, you know where I have come from unto you, and now will I return to fight against the prince of Persia, the prince of Iran. And when I am gone, see, once he is gone to settle down and to keep Iran out of it and to deal with Iran, who's coming forth? Lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. You following? Okay, what's happening here? We're coming to the east. Remember, he's talking to Dan. He's talking to Dan. This is that time towards the 40 days. He's explaining him what will come. So who's the one that's going to attack Israel? And when I am gone forth dealing with the prince of Persia, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. Who's the prince of Grecia? All right, also through the Greeks, but it is what? With their territory, also a place in Arabia. The Antichrist, the Mahdi shall come. You see, look at all these things now with Saudi Arabia taking place. Look at all these things being brought to the forefront with Saudi Arabia. If you guys saw that video that Paul Begley did yesterday with Israel with Saudi Arabia launched an attack in Syria to destroy caches and everything of Iran that's there, that has their weapons and stuff there. And apparently it was like 200 men were killed and many, many more injured. This just happened like 24, 48 hours ago. Not even 48 hours ago. See? Are you kidding me? You see, guys, since MBS came to power, right? He's not the king yet, but he's the one that's in line, and everybody else has been removed from the option. You see? Saudi Arabia working with the Jews? The Arabs working with the Jews? What? See? Guys, it's all unfolding before our eyes. Now check this out. Okay? But of this day and hour knows no man. Remember, we were talking about it from the beginning, right? We're talking about it from the start. We see the 3rd of Tishri, the 3rd of Tishri, the 3rd of Tishri. Dan is telling us the 3rd of Tishri. Zechariah is revealing the 3rd of Tishri. Jeremiah is revealing the 3rd of Tishri through Dan. When the destruction will come. The count begins what? On the 3rd of Tishri. Why does it begin on the 3rd of Tishri? Why are we told, better yet, why are we told when this count will come to pass? Like I said before, for all of those people that say, oh, but of the day and hour no one knows, they don't understand who the books are speaking to. So do we get frustrated with it? Yes, of course. But if they haven't seen it, how are they to understand, right? Look at Luke. Listen to what Luke says. Okay? To where those people say that. Luke 21 verse 33. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Okay, there's the cutoff. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Then what does it say? Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with the suffering and drunkenness and the cares of this life. And so that day comes upon you unawares. Okay, we all know this. Watch ye therefore and pray always that you be found accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass. Right? To escape it all. Anything here about day and hour? Okay, let's go to Mark. Look at Mark's. We won't go to Matthew's because Matthew's you'll know is the same thing, but you can go to it yourself if you want. Okay, let's look at it for Matthew. For Mark. Mark 13, verse 31. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. There's the cutoff. Then what do we see next? But of that day and that hour knoweth no man. Going to Matthew, we read the same type of thing. Okay? But because everybody has been taught from Matthew all their lives, they think Matthew speaks to them, and it's not to them. We should be learning from Luke, as we've said here over and over again. Okay? Matthew and Mark have of that day and of that hour knows no man. Matthew and Mark have the crimson or scarlet and the purple, which are the ones with the woman, which are the ones in Revelation. Matthew and Mark have, my God, why have you forsaken me? When the word means left behind. When in Luke, it says, Father, into your arms I commend my spirit. You see, these are all these revelations. These are all the truths being revealed in these gospels and who the different people are that they speak to. Okay? So, what am I saying? The Lord never told us in Luke that of that day and hour we wouldn't know. And when you tie it in, the last video with the one, like I was saying, those different groups of videos at the beginning. See, we were just there not long ago. Look at how it's all slowed up. When you go and you tie in all of this information from the last video, from the 8th day video, you see that he's told us. We see that that John with the 21 chapters, who he's speaking to and when their events will be. We know that it relates to Hosea. Chapter 1. We know it relates to Ruth, all right, and the Gentile bride. And all of these things relate to that about an 8th day. And this solidified not only the 8th day, but where that count began. All right? It's telling us the 3rd of Tishri is the beginning of the count. And the about an 8th day is the gathering, the great assembly. Or the assembly of the 8th day. If people are asking me, am I saying I think in here is the escape of the bride? I do. Could we be wrong? Of course we can. We're trying to discern Scripture, right? We don't have all the answers. I don't hear God audibly telling me these things. I'm led in the Spirit to reveal these understandings, to come to these understandings. And over the last 2 years, we've gained more and more and more and more clarity. Everything that I do of all my videos, I can do it without scriptures in front of me. It tells us this day. Because we're what? In the 3rd year of Cyrus. The count to the end of 14 years, the end of 13 and the end of 14, and to the Jubilee year, it all equals this year. Zechariah tells us this year, in the 14 years. Hosea is 14 years, the bride's gone at the beginning. John has the whole 21 years, and at the 8th, the beginning of the 14, the bride's gone. Over and 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 over again. And the count, this is what I'm getting at here as I finish up. 3rd of Tishri. What was September 23rd making us aware to? This time frame of 2-year warning end? The 3rd of Tishri. Why? Because in Luke he never told us we could not know the day or hour. But why didn't he begin the count for us at the start of the year? Because it's the day and hour that no one knows. Okay, watch this. Okay, everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but many, many people understand this, right? No one knows the day or the hour. Okay, let's read the highlighted here in blue. The Jewish holidays fall, or it says always fall. Now, the main Jewish holidays is what it should say, fall on full moons. Okay? They all fall on the full moon, except one of them, Rosh Hashanah, which is called the head of the year. So all of the main feasts fall on the full moon, with the exception of Rosh Hashanah, which is called the head of the year, and it lands on what? It begins with the sighting of the crescent of the new moon. Okay, that new sliver of the moon has to be shown. Okay, and that's what it says here. The only holiday that occurs on the first of the month during the month of Tishri. Before science understood the cycles of the planets and the solar system, the Jews knew that there was a 2-day window for the sighting of the new moon. Then the new month could not officially begin until 2 witnesses reported to the high priest that they had seen the sliver of the new moon. Once the 2 sightings were confirmed, the priests would sound the shofar to declare the start of Rosh Hashanah. They would sound what? They would sound the shofar for the start of Rosh Hashanah. They would sound the shofar to start the time of the day and hour that no one knows with a trumpet blast. Where do we find it? In Matthew. Who's it talking to? Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Well, who are the tribes, guys? That was towards the end of the last video, right? Those that are the gates, right? The foundation were the apostles, those chosen through Dan, right? Through Smyrna that are going to work during seals. Then you have Philadelphia, the walls that will be built during the 3.5 years when the city and the streets are being rebuilt. And then the tribes, right? The heads and the tribes, the heads of those tribes were what? The gates that'll be built in the walls. And here we are at the end in Matthew. It's the tribes, and what's going off? The trumpet blast. They can't know the day or the hour. Why? Because they never know which day and hour it's going to be. And what a lot of people get confused from and just spew things out, they fail to look at the detail of what it says. The day or hour. Not the month, not the year, the day or hour. Do you not think Jesus could have been more clear if he wanted to and told us that it was the day, nobody will know the hour, the day, the month, the year? Do you think if he wanted to, he could have told us that? Of course he could have. Do you think that maybe he was abbreviating it just so that because we couldn't know? No. He wasn't abbreviating it because he couldn't know the month or the year. And do we have evidence of that? Absolutely we do. Absolutely we got evidence that if he wanted to, he could have told us. Revelation 9 verse 15. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay a third part of men. You see? Do you not think that in the story in Mark and Matthew of no one knows the day or hour, that if he wanted to be more precise and let us know that it also included the month and the year, that he would have told us? You wouldn't also know the month and the year? No. He is telling us Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Trumpets, which is the day and the hour no one knows. Which is why Mark and Matthew will not know the precise time. But this is what I'm getting at. He does not say it in Luke. Why? Because it's not on the day and hour that no one knows. It's on the one I've told you. It's on the one, it's on the one I gave you warning for. It's on the one Daniel told you. It's on the one Zechariah told you. And the one in Jeremiah that Dan was given the understanding of. In the year that equals no other year, because if it's not this year, everything else is off. It'll be the 6,002nd year from his death and resurrection. Do you follow the depth of the revelation as to why we're given this and why they're not? All being revealed to us here in these last days. You know, I've had this conversation with a few people. Why didn't God reveal this to us sooner? For example, the 14 years. How come we were the first ones, as far as we know of, in the English-speaking language, to get the understanding of the Gospels and who they were speaking to understand the revelation of the 14 years through the 21 and so forth? The opening of the books, like Daniel was told, would happen in the end of days. Why is all this happening here? Why didn't we get this 20 years ago or 10 years ago? Because if this time frame was revealed 5, 10, 20 years ago, a whole bunch of people would have said, well, hey, I'll do my best to live till then. If I live till then, let me go drink, let me go party, let me just be gluttonous, let me just go live my life however I want. Because I know when it's coming, when it will all count will begin. You see? Even us, we weren't given this understanding till what? Right towards the tail end. But even now, does that mean we're going to go be gluttonous and be foolish and everything? No! Because he's revealing it to those who are watching and praying and repentant. He's revealing it to those who he's drawn to himself by the Holy Spirit. Right? Those who are desiring him. Not those who never really cared in the first place, who would have gone and done those things anyways, regardless of knowing what day and hour or what day it was coming. I do believe with all my heart it's coming. I believe this is the time. We've got it. It's been revealed. It's been a process of understanding and of revelation the whole way through for 2 years. And each of us here has been revealed the understanding. Those who are new, go watch some of those videos. In particular, watch those videos that I showed you at the beginning. You know, I was talking also with a brother the other day, and I'll finish up. That revelation that we know who the books are speaking to in the prophets, right? And we see that the only two Old Testament that have 14, or the only two books that have 14 chapters are Zechariah and Hosea, 14 and 14. You see, Hosea's, though, this is really powerful, guys. And I'll finish it up with this. Hosea, verse 2, Jesus as Hosea, the deliverer, is told by the Lord God, go get your wife of whoredom, right? We covered that in that video about an 8th day. Okay? Right near the beginning, almost the beginning of the 14 years. Okay? So think of that great 8th day. All right? October, what is it? Was it 20th to the 21st? Okay? Right near the beginning of the start of the 14 years. John did the same thing. Okay? But here it is at the beginning. And you've got the whole 14 years to go. But in Zechariah, you see, in Hosea, it starts right off the bat. So when does Hosea's count begin? In the fall. It begins in the fall of 2019. When does Zechariah's count begin? Zechariah's count began, see, at the beginning of 2019. See? Red horse rider among the trees. We talked about that many, many times. And it says these 70 years, right? So it means they're now in the 70 years. When will you not have mercy? See, why does he want to show mercy on the land? Right? Upon Jerusalem and the cities of Judah. Because they never allowed their land to rest 7 years. That's right. We got that piece now. That's another little piece that just came out while we were teaching. Okay? For those 70 years, and then what do we see? Affliction. Well, when does it start? Well, look at all of this, and affliction doesn't begin till what? 3/4 of the way down. So when does Zechariah 1 begin? The beginning of the year. You see, why? This is you got to pay attention here, those who've been watching for a bit. Why do we see the coming of the Lord feet down on the Mount of Olives in chapter 14, at the beginning of chapter 14, if the Lord doesn't come down feet down on the Mount of Olives till the end? He actually comes down at the end of chapter 13. It's the count. It's the difference of the count. The 14 years begins in Hosea at the beginning, but will go straight through to the end because it's 14 years long. Zechariah, who is to Judah, it doesn't begin, it starts at the beginning to give him the signs and those things along the way, but when will it end? At the end of the 13th year. Zechariah chapter 7, Revelation chapter 11, when we see the Lord returning feet down on the Mount of Olives at the end of the 13th year, and the 7th trumpet, everything is his. But what does that mean for Hosea? Well, the Gentiles are still out and about during that final year as well. There's still people out around in the earth, right, at the end of trumpets as well that have survived things. It's the whole 14 years. And Zechariah, the Lord returns at the beginning here, which is really the time frame of the end of the 13th year. I don't say that to confuse you guys, but it's a difference of when each book starts. Hosea's was at the start of the 14 years. The start of the 14 years. All right? It's that whole timeline we've broken down many, many times. And like I said, I'm finishing up. I will finish up. I'm just going to show this one last time because it shows that there is no other year. Come on now. Come on. See how slow this is? Drives me crazy sometimes. All right? The 7 easy years have passed. Here's your 14 years. Okay? End of 2019. 7th year of rest right here. The 144,000 gets sealed at the start of chapter 7 of Revelation. Then you have the great multitude, the rapture. Then you have the beginning of trumpets, the later part, the fall of 2026. And you follow it down. And at the end of the 6th year, the end of 2031, which is to the fall of 32, is the end of the 2,000 years. That's 2,000 years, yeah. The end of 6,000 years, when the Lord is returned, feet down on the Mount of Olives, from the fall of 31, which we call for 2031, it'll be the fall of 32 when it ends. And he's cleaning up. We call the cleanup when he's dealing with all that stuff at the 7th trumpet, when everything is now his, and he's feet down on the Mount of Olives. It'll be the 6,001st, which is precisely why when the 14 years are over, at the end of the 7th trumpet, it is precisely why in Genesis chapter 8, when the raven and the dove go out, then 7 years, then the dove goes out with the olive branch plucked, which is the rapture group. Then 7 more years he waits, and when the dove goes out that final time, he never returns. And what does it say in the next verse? It was the 601st year, first month, first day. Why? Because it'll be the 6,000th first year, first month, first day. It doesn't equal the perfect understanding of Christ's birth to his death and resurrection without falling right now. it must be in the 70th year of Israel, or all scripture would have to be rewritten. Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. A generation is from 70 to 80, 10 years. And if by reason of strength, it's 70, and if by reason of strength it is 80, which means what? Labor and sorrow, tribulation. Then soon we fly away, a short period of time. And fly away is what? Revelation 12:14, when they fly away for a time, and half a time. 70 plus 10 plus a short period of time, about 6 months, plus 3.5 years of flying away, 14 years. When did the count begin? Same as Daniel. 70 years. I love you guys. God bless you. Share this. Check out the website. Go get engaged in the forum. Talk with other brothers and sisters of like mind and of like understanding, and share your testimonies. I love you guys. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.